All right, guys. So in this video, we're going to be going over how to structure your own training day in the weight room. So with this template, it's going to be easy to adapt to any situation, any setting, and any weight room that you might be in. Now, this isn't the only way to structure a training day, but it is a very simple and efficient one that I use with me and all the athletes that I train. And I also use it and have adapted it to work within the schools that I work with remotely as well. Now, you don't have to use a structure, but it is a good reference point to understanding how to warm up, the different ways you can warm up, how to prime the nervous system, the different training qualities, and how to train them. And then also how to structure the lifts and order them to best fit your needs and your schedule. So whether you train for 30 minutes, an hour, or an hour and a half, you can adapt this structure and this template to fit your training. All right, so let's get into it by discussing the first part of your training session, which is going to be the warm-up. A warm-up serves the purpose to improve and ensure tissue quality, warm up muscles, and prep the tissues to move, improve on coordination and skills, and it prepares you for the training session both mentally and physically. Now, there's a lot of different options that you can pick from when it comes to warming up, and you can mix and match a bunch of different modalities to create a really good warm-up for you. Now, what you use in your warm-ups is going to be dependent on what you're training that day, the event or the sport that you're training for, and then any possibly correctives that you might need to work on. Now, you can use some, you can use one, or you can use all different kinds of modalities depending on your timing, your schedule, your needs, and so on and so forth. So now let's get into these 6 ways that you can warm up. Now, from the most basic level, the first modality we'll talk about when warming up is using a slow stretch to get ready for the session. With your slow stretches, these are stretches where you slowly but passively get to a position, or active stretches where you hold the end of a position for 3 to 5 seconds, pulsing in and out of them. So think movements like active toe touches or T-spine rotations, where you're just slowly accessing positions, but you're not really getting much work through them. Now, with slow stretches, it's really not the best strategy to hold a stretch statically before a training session, because static stretching or holding a stretch for long periods of time, usually like 15 seconds or more before a session, could reduce force expression and output due to inhibition and stretching away those fascial elastics. So it's best to hold a stretch for only 3 to 5 seconds max before a workout. Now, slow stretching is really good for working on basic mobility and tissue quality, but it really isn't too comprehensive. It's just a general way to warm up. Now, personally, I like to use 6 slow movements to move well through different joints. So I like to work the ankle, knee, hips, wrist, shoulders, and T-spine. Just get a quick stretch from each of those joints. Get that done in 3 minutes, and it's a slow stretch that you can use to prep for the day and just to ensure that you can move well. Now, the second modality we'll talk about is a dynamic stretch, which is a more active stretch that gets us moving actively and doing work through different positions and ranges of motion. Now, this does well to build active mobility and allow your muscles and joints to access positions and actually do work in them. So think movements like a crossover lunge, knee pulls, and anything dynamic to get you working through full ranges and even extreme ranges of motion. Now, dynamic stretching is good for working on active mobility, tissue quality, fluidity, and joint movement. It can get pretty comprehensive with this, and it checks a lot of boxes for you as well. So adding in some dynamic stretches before a workout can be a good tool to get you working through these positions. Now, the third modality is going to be locomotion and movement integration, which is very active. It works on mobility, and it also builds on a lot of movement capabilities, skills, and body awareness. So think movements like different crawls or changing the way that you move across space and time for locomotion. And think of working from the foot up and exploring space and purposely changing up how you move to learn how to move with different positions and different planes, such as things like crossbody walks, movement with added rotation, tilt, and things like that. Now, locomotion and movement integration is very unique, and it isn't really used much, but it's very valuable. Now, I find this to be really helpful to help you explore movement, learn how to navigate through space, and it serves very well to, 1, build coordination, but also 2, to wake you up before a lift. So if you feel terrible and you need to wake up, locomotion via crawling does well to wake you up, and it allows you to feel good and really move well. Now, the fourth one modality is going to be activation or correctives, which can be both very specific or very general. Now, this is just active warm-up movements to stiffen or build rigidity in the muscles, increase blood flow, and strengthen weakened muscles before a lift. Now, activation movements are movements that are very low in intensity and very small, like glute bridges, band pull-aparts, and face pulls, and things like that. Now, you can easily pick movements based off what you're working that day. So if you're working lower body, you can do lower body activation work. If you're working full body, you can pick lower and upper body activation work. Now, correctives are just other forms of activation movements, just based more specifically on you as an athlete to address your weaknesses. So if you have a weaker mid back, movements like YTWs could be added. If you have a weaker glute medius, you can do glute mid bridges. Now, activation and correctives are good to get quality work in while warming up and address specific needs for you as an athlete. Now, the fifth one modality is going to be patterning, which simply put is just doing bodyweight versions of movements that you're doing in training to groove them, learn, warm up your muscles and joints, and build movement skills. So if you're squatting and doing RDLs and lunges in your workout, doing 1 to 2 sets of those movements with body weight before the workout's going to serve you very well. Now, this is best to use if you're running low on time and you need to get in and out of the weight room. It's basically warm-up sets, but to focus on your form and your movement skill. Now, the sixth and last warm-up modality is going to be contact prep, which is huge for contact sports. With contact prep, you're preparing for contact, learning body control against yourself and others, learning how to brace, and you're learning how to prepare and take on impact. Contact prep involves at the most basic level contact with the ground, like crawls, reads, rolls, and things like that. But as you advance, it becomes contact with other humans, like learning how to move a human, how to tackle, and how to get to the ground. There's not anything as specific as this, and nothing in all six modalities can wake an athlete up like this. If you train in a team setting or with a partner, contact prep can serve to build a bunch of skills that help you become a better athlete as well as playing safer and to play more efficiently. Now, of all these options discussed, you can pick one or multiple modalities to use to warm up depending on your time, goal, and what works for you. So, for example, you can start with simple slow stretches to build on tissue quality. Then you can go to correctives after that to adjust your weaknesses and do active work. Then finish off with patterning the movements for the day. Now, if you play a contact sport, you can start off with a dynamic stretch, then get into locomotion, and then finish off with that contact prep work. Now, if you had to get in and out of the gym really quickly, you could just pattern the movements and then get into your workout. So it all depends on what you like, what you can do, your needs as an athlete, and what you have time for. Now, this is a small part of the training session, but it's very valuable, and you can get a ton of good work in your warm-ups. It should be used and treated as part of the workout.